So this was our barbell class and a little insight on the mechanics approach, right, to weightlifting, but also applying my power mechanics concept to it as well. So we're working these kind of power position bottom ups, and I'm just going to loop it again so I could talk about it. I like stopping at the point where you're going to produce the most amount of jump. So the first one you'll see I hit a little imbalance. That's what we call this the leveler drill. And then I auto-corrected it where my bar is a little straighter just by the feeling of one side hitting first. But you'll see there's a very controlled focus on the negative because we don't want to get down to the bottom with no hamstring, glutes, obliques, right? So I worked up to, we're doing triples in class. Or actually, we just kind of pick your own focus, right? That's why you'll see Ella in the back working front squats and Monica's over there doing back squats. So everyone's focusing on different things. Someone was doing trap bar deadlifts. So I worked up to 315, I think this is it here. And that allowed me to still keep everything on, where when I came down, my hamstrings, the inside hammy has been a big focus, and then I can really try to accelerate through the bar, through that knee extension, and then I reset at the bottom because I want to time the sequencing. So when I get to the bottom, obliques tight, hamstring glutes are on. Hoadley was doing the same thing I was, and then he went up to, this looks like 405. So this first set, as you see, he's driving through the knees, but he's overextending at the hip. And so that's where there's a little wobble when he gets to the top like that. So spotted that firm with the video, and then he's going to correct that a little later. Ella's been working on making sure she catches and engages the hip hinge, whereas a lot of people would just catch a clean, get to that squat where it's all quads. So he wanted to do another set to fix the problem. The idea is to produce a lot of power. It's that violent knee extension where your glutes and hammy stays on. See that hip angle is somewhat maintained at the top. So that's the goal, because then there's no loss of tension where his hips kind of shift forward and back. So that's a way better set. So that's kind of the mechanics approach. And you apply that to the technique. So then, I forgot how many sets we did, but I'm going pretty slow to make sure I get some good amount of activation. I dropped it down 225 and just did a couple drop sets where we're going for volume here. So you can see I wanted to feel controlled through the full drive. The idea is it's really like trying to jump as hard as you can or as high as you can, but feeling like you're transferring enough power through the legs, into the bar without losing tension on either side. So there's no imbalance. I think we got to about 10 per set. So Johnny, same thing, controlled, violent knee extension. So you'll see that the hips want to take over. Then there you go, the knees extend all the way through, like a follow-through, almost like a clean pull, like a follow-through of a jump. I'm talking through that, making sure that the hips are staying engaged and at that angle where it can be, versus a lot of people, yell, fire your hips or get your hip to extend. Well, that's just not how the technique works or the mechanics work of a jump. So then we had a couple finishers. This is the drill that I mentioned in the last video. Has been shown to be very promising. It's essentially, think of it as a one-legged jump, and you get to slow down the mechanics of it. If you pause at the top, and I had him go right and left, because you'll see how that rebounds. That's a clear indicator that that glute isn't firing, where this one stays more upright. So then, as always, I'm still, part of the journey. I'm working with the team, doing the exact same stuff. I'll make sure to edit the video better next time so it doesn't have all this additive in there. You'll see I'm checking my hamstring glutes to make sure I could counter pressure, as in keep everything tight so that I can actually produce power through my knee and ankle. So this is my good side, pretty sturdy, no wobbles, no lateral motion in or out of the knees, the ankle's not caving in or out. Following through, feeling the power transfer all the way through. You can view this as any lower body movement, really. So I do a couple just to test it out where it's originally at. See all that wobble? I can't hold the extension. I can't hold the clean pull, top of a jump. There's a lot of that up and down. So then, trying to figure out where it's coming from. Really trying to tighten up the oblique right there in the glute combo. You'll see that I'm kind of leaning outside of the hip, right? And the knee's caving in a sense. So just trying to adjust it, find the right angle where my knees are not collapsing in and my hip shooting out. My hip and knee does that because I'm looking for tension, right? So it's getting a little straighter. See, I'm talking to somebody about how my knee wants to, once it caves in, and when people jump, the knees and the feet, everything rotates out. So I'm trying to avoid that from happening. The goal is once I get everything firing, that's why I'm starting to lean a little bit more so my knee doesn't cave in. And as always, consistency is key, so I ended the barbell class with some extra drills, rebuilding the front rack and overhead position, a video on that. It's on the YouTube page here. Just look back a little bit and knock it out. So upper pec focus, you'll see my hips back to allow my core to be on. A lot of people do upper body work where the hips tucked under. So you have to push my hips back to get that T-spine to open up. Then I'm firing my obliques and rib lats to really get that lockout position. So if you feel this all in the shoulder impingement or neck, then you're not in the right muscles. You want to feel it where I'm reaching right now. It's right on cue.